Hello and welcome to this ETU tutor video. This is for GCSE English language students who are doing the Edexcel Paper 2 exam. This is for Section A reading and we're looking at question 7 part A. So this one is very straightforward for you to get those 6 marks. It's nothing to worry about. All you need to do is identify similarities between two texts. And you're focusing here on the content. So you're not having to comment in detail on language or structure. You might mention them in passing and that's fine, but really you're looking for 3 general similarities. And on your exam paper, this will appear as 3 separate paragraphs. Okay? If you imagine these 3 separate paragraphs for your 6 marks, that each of them is worth 2 marks. And for each of those 2 marks you need to make a point, so say how something is similar, and then give evidence from text 1, so get a quote that's on that topic from text 1, and then get evidence from text 2, give a quote from that topic on text 2. It's not as tricky as people think. Just remember to use that comparative vocabulary, so say things like both texts, this text does that, likewise text 2 does it as well, and so on. You might need to do a quick reread before you get started, but let's have a quick go at it now. So, if you have a look down at text 1 here, and you have a look over at text 2, hopefully you've identified that there's quite a few similarities in terms of the setting here. They're both set in India. In terms of the ideas, they both talk about starving millions or people who are in very poor conditions, they're in a bad situation, so they're similar in that way as well. They both talk about and stress the extent of the problem. We've got starving millions here, we've got the lengths of days that children are working over here. So it's not that hard to just try and consider how the texts are alike and what the themes are. So for these two you might say themes include poverty or poverty and inequality. Those sort of things would be what you'd want to mention when you're saying how they're similar. Okay, hopefully that's covered what you need to know for this one. So can you see any quotes that you'd like to use? Can you spot any similarities? What you might want to do now is pause the video and jot those down, or just do one of your paragraphs and then try to mark it, see if you can get that 2 marks for that paragraph. Do you make a point? Do you give evidence from both of the texts and stress how they're similar? So you might want to pause, give that a go. If not, what I'm going to do is read you an answer that one of my students has given. So they said, both texts highlight the extent of poverty in India. In text 1, it states that there is child slave labour. Similarly, in text 2, it says the starving millions of India. These descriptions both make us feel sympathetic for them. Okay, so they're also thinking about the impact of the reader, which is something that you can include in here because it shows you really do understand the content and how the texts are similar. Let's have a look at their second paragraph. So, both texts talk about children who are suffering. In text 1 it says, see the children stitching the fine embroidery, and likewise in text 2 we see drowning in the sea of children. The use of children is quite emotive, and so it hooks us because we feel the need to help. Okay, and their final paragraph, their final point, their last 2 marks. Both texts state the horrific conditions of India. In text 1 it says stinking open drains, and in text 2 it says filthy. These descriptions help us imagine the horrible conditions that they live in, and so it makes us feel nervous and sympathetic for them. Okay, so hopefully you can see where they located those quotes from in text 1 and text 2, and you can see that they're covering the similarities between the two texts, and they've given evidence from both of the texts for each of the points they make. Alright then, I hope this has helped. If you've learned something slightly differently at school and that's what you're used to, don't panic. Just apply that technique to the 2 texts that you've got here. Remember, these texts are available on Twitter and on Pinterest as well, so check out the description box below. All the best then, and like and subscribe.